Welcome to Missteps and Mastery. My name is Machiel. I'm the founder and CEO of Bluebird. And with a decade of SaaS and leadership experience, I found that I learned most from my own failures and those of others, and from stories of individuals who have excelled and achieved mastery in certain areas. In this podcast, we unpack the pivotal missteps and the moments of mastery that have driven SaaS leaders to excel. With that being said, let me introduce you to our first guest. Hans de Penning is the founder and CEO of Neople. Neople creates AI-powered digital co-workers created to assist customer support teams. From my perspective, they're one of the most exciting AI startups in the Netherlands. But first of all, welcome to the podcast, Hans, and a big thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Would you mind giving us a high-level introduction of your background and your SaaS journey so far?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm Hans. I'm one of the co-founders of Neople. And before we started with Neople, we had a company in electric car sharing. Also a really interesting journey. But we started Neople now almost 2 years ago. So in January 2023. And it's been an amazing journey. And we're working for a lot of really interesting clients. And yes, maybe it's good to explain what we are doing.
Absolutely,
yeah?
Please.
Yeah, so as Neople, we are making digital employees and the digital co-workers. And with these co-workers, we help companies to work more efficient and to get more out of their own team. And we are using AI for it, but what sets us apart from other AI companies is that we are really focused on working together with the teams that are using AI. So we are not selling it as a tool. It's a real coworker that's going to join your company. It's onboarded like a normal employee. You're working towards the first working day, and from that point, you are really working together. And it understands your needs, it understands your company, and it understands what you need in your work.
Amazing. Can you tell me a bit about where are you guys in the journey? Like how many people, which round of funding, where are you in the revenue journey, if you don't mind sharing that?
Yeah. So we are now with about 36 people, and we raised now in total 7.5 million from various VC investors. I can say that we are definitely mid-journey with the company.
Amazing. Is that your favorite phase?
I think starting the company is also a lot of fun because everything is possible. You don't have anything that you have to take into account. It's like just come up with an idea, just try it and test it and until something works.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the most fun parts of it. But when you're also having a team and building a company and having real clients, then things got real, and then you also need other skills to be successful, and that's also a lot of fun. Yeah.
Got it. Can you tell me a little bit how your management team is structured? You mentioned you're with a bit over 30 people.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so we started with 4 founders. We also as founders still part of the management team, but we also hired a few more experienced people, and that's also really great because they are helping us now in the phase that for most of us is like a completely new phase, and requires different knowledge, different skills, and that we are also adding to our team right now. Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about the founding story? It's pretty unique, I think, to have a company with 4 founders. Can you tell me a bit about how you guys got here?
Yeah. So, of course, it started with a general idea that we want to make a digital co-worker that really feels like a real colleague. That's something that we started off from the beginning. And pretty soon we also met other people that had like the ambition to make a product in customer support. And that's also where that's what we're currently doing. So most of our customers, they use their Neople in support teams. So we have now, and we met Bas and Menno, my other co-founder, Joep and mij. So we had the knowledge from the area, from the type of company that we are building, but we also have experience in AI and we have experience in building companies, that brought us together. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I mentioned the podcast is called Missteps and Mastery. Let's start with the bad so we can end with the good. I'm quite keen to learn a bit about like the biggest mistake or mistakes that you've made. Can you tell me a bit about that? Like what went wrong and what was the impact on your business?
Yeah, I think you make a lot of mistakes, and I think that to build a successful company, you need to make a little bit less mistakes than mistakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things that really stood out for me was in our previous company that we lost focus. And meaning losing focus, that we, like I said, that we were doing car sharing, but we also entered the area of bike sharing. And that's, you can imagine that requires completely different skills. So you're growing the team to cover all the things that you need to do for like running actually multiple companies at the same time. For the rest of the team, it's not clear anymore in which direction you are heading and what's expected of them. And then it really goes downhill very fast. Yeah.
Got it. So both from an ideal customer profile perspective, but also from broadening the product, you basically feel like you guys did that too soon.
Yeah, maybe. I think for most of the companies, it's always too soon. I think there's not a right moment to diversify your product. I think that if you are like Google or Facebook, you have to diversify because you have like market leadership and you want to get a bigger part of the market. But when you're scaling the company and you are in hyperscale, then the only way to be successful is to focus on only one thing. Yeah. So if you're in the growth phase, then I think it's always too early to diversify your product and your ISP.
Interesting. Would you be able to tell a bit more about how you would quantify that growth phase? Like, where does it start? Where does it stop?
Yeah, if you're still multiplying the company every year, then it's definitely too early, because then there's also enough market to be successful in what you're currently doing. So I think that when you're still growing double digits, then you definitely don't be distracted by all the other things that can also be done. Yeah.
Okay. And if you look back at that period and you guys lost focus, what was the impact on the business, both financially but also for the team, for example?
Yeah, so what happens in it comes in various shapes, of course. But in our situation, it was that we had to hire a lot of people to cover the operation and to also service the clients and service our market. So we were hiring too fast with not a real focus on a core product. But what also happened was that our clients were also not. They liked the idea in the beginning, but if they had to pay for it and you have to bring a bigger suite and you have to upsell for these clients and you try to do it too fast, then you will encounter a lot of churn. You will also see that not all the clients are really open for upsell yet. So actually, our revenue was also. Our revenue growth was stopped at the time that we were losing focus.
And what inspired you to broaden the business? Because I can imagine that can come either from customer demands, but it can also come from the perspective of that you guys saw a great revenue opportunity. Like, what was the reason you guys decided to expand the business?
Yeah, well, we wanted to grow faster. Because we also had ambition from our investors that there was a lot of pressure on the company to grow faster than we were growing. We were already growing quite fast, and you get hungry, so you want more. So that was one thing. The other thing is that you then try to steer to what the markets want. And if you ask to your customers and to the market what they want only want to have more and things that they already know. So they will also steer you in the wrong direction. Yeah. And that's also what we are currently seeing with Neople. If you ask our clients what they want or what they need, they want a complete suite with everything in it and covering all the cases in the company, and they want multiple Neople in the team. But yeah, it will cause the same problems if we follow that route.
I think this is a huge advantage of the fact that you're a second-time founder. Based on this experience, like, what are you doing differently at Neople than what you were doing at Amber?
Yeah, so I think coming back to the focus, I think that we really early focused on one ICP. We said, okay, we're only doing one market. Now we are broadening it a bit, but with the same product, with the same characteristics that we're currently seeing in our starting market. Focus very early. If you feel that you have some product market fit there, just double down on it and see if you can be successful there before you keep trying a lot of different things. So that's what we did there, and also like we have a lot of discussions internally about ICP. What is our ICP? How can we focus more on it? So that's something that we definitely doing differently based on the experience that we had in the previous company. But we also have a completely different hire strategy, and hiring strategy is also one of the success factors of Neople right now. Yeah.
So let's transition into this area where you mentioned you guys excel at. Can you tell me a bit about like how you've mastered hiring?
Yeah, so what we have learned is that if you have a new employee in your company, you have a few things that makes it harder to onboard or to get up to speed with someone. That is, or they don't have experience with the role that they are entering, or they don't have experience with the phase of the company, what's needed to be successful as a company in this market. And after that, you have, of course, like, do you have working experience? So do you know how to work? That's also a skill that you need to learn. And after all these things, then there is somewhere, do you have experience in this market? I think that experience in this market is highly overrated in the hiring process. I think that like the phase and the role is way more important than do you have experience in this market. So that's what we also turned around. So we first check, does someone understand what phase we are as a company, and does he know what the role needs, and then you have the right experience or enough experience in working environment to be successful in a company.
Got it. And you talk about the market piece. When you mention market, do you mean SaaS in general, or do you mean specifically AI or customer support and into that direction?
Yeah, so it is a new field where we're in. So AI in customer support, but there are already companies out there, maybe from chatbots or from contact center software that has experience in the market. That is very valuable, like in terms of network or understanding the product. But having experience in the role is then still way more important. Yeah.
And can you give a couple of examples of positions that you filled, the level of experience you were looking for, just so we can get a bit of a tangible feel for what we're talking about here?
Yeah. So what we typically hired in the past was people that were just coming fresh out of university. So it was their first job, and they loved working at the company. They feel like a child of the company, and so they are ambassadors for life. Yeah. But yeah, then you have to tackle all of these challenges that I just mentioned, and that's fun, but it's not the fastest way. What we're currently doing is hiring people with at least 5, 6, preferably 7 or 8 years experience in a similar role, or at least in a similar company. So like that is where we now start hiring, and then you end up with an average, a little bit older team. And also a little bit different culture, because you're not building the culture together anymore, but it's a mix of different cultures that are like brought together. But yeah, these are the main characteristics that are now different. Yeah.
And if you look at the phase of the company, obviously you guys are in a startup phase. What makes it unsuccessful to hire someone who's worked at a larger company?
Yeah, what you typically see is that they expect that there are a lot of things that are not there. So they also start searching for things that are not there. So because you have to create it, so you have to be really good in creating things, and you need to love creating things and not using things that are already there, because they are not. And especially when you go transitioning from a big company to a smaller company, that can be a big step. Another thing is maybe a little bit too much of respect for the structure. So if your boss is saying you have to do it like this, then you're not challenging it, and then you say, okay, then that's probably the way, because the company should know. But the company doesn't know because they're also figuring out, and they are also hiring new people to tell them how to do things better. And if you don't feel the freedom to do that because you're not used to that freedom in a company, then it will also be harder to be part of a smaller company.
Got it. If you look at slightly longer term, like you're hiring a lot of people that are maybe more mid-level, more senior level. Yep. Do you see a future where you'll be hiring for more junior positions with more juniority again? Is there something you might be missing if you don't have that part within the organization anymore?
Yes, and I think a mix is of course always ideal. So you also want people that learn it in the company and can be successful in a few years. So it can also be like a training camp for new people. But at the same time, they are also building. They are it's easier to make a culture with them. So I think like having a good mix there is really, really helpful there. Yeah.
Agreed. So there's a long list of things that as a startup you're looking for, and the first hires are the most crucial hires that you can make. At the same time, they're also the most complex hires to make because you don't have that much to show for yet. How did you guys succeed at successfully attracting the right people?
Yeah, so I think we have to compensate a lot with want to be part of it. I think that we also aware that AI is very popular at the moment. So being in an AI company, working with a team that is so the first hires that we already got were really good people. So working with great people in a company that has the right timing and also the right investors on board. That's really that is, in my opinion, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There are not so many companies that are in this phase and are nice to join in this. But we also have to capture that feeling with candidates. So they want to be part of the journey and feel like, okay, I'm really going to be part of it. And because we are not. We cannot provide them with a lot of things that are already there or with the highest salaries in the market. So we have to compensate with these things. Yeah, and it makes it definitely worth it.
And did you see with, let's say, the first 10 people that you brought on board, like your real core team, were most of those people through your network?
Yes, definitely. So because we are with 4 founders and also from different backgrounds, we all had some people that we had on our short list that we want to hire in the company, of course. So that's where I think the first 5-6 hires were from our own network, but we also want to hire people outside our own network to also get some experience that no one of us has and also is coming from a completely different background. So I think the first 5-6 were known to us, and then we started also hiring outside of our own network. Yeah.
And that feeling that you created with those first hires to really be part of a startup, how did you create that feeling?
It's very simple. It's just a lot of telling, a lot of explaining. So explaining what do we want to achieve, where are we going, what's our vision. That's a very important thing. And the other thing is deliver on the things that you are saying. So if you say we're going to do this, then you're definitely going to do this, and at least try to do it, and not like we're going to, for example, make a step abroad but it never come. No, you really have to deliver there. Yeah.
Which I guess can also be tough because you need to be fairly agile as a startup.
Yeah.
So you need
plans change. But also, I think it's also very important to be transparent in that you are changing. So it's not like, we never talk about it and it won't be there. But okay, we choose not to do it for this and this reason. So we choose to do something else. And I think that's very important. I think it's more important to tell why and what you're not doing instead of only telling new stories.
And you mentioned in the second phase, obviously we've worked together quite a bit, but in that second phase you also started hiring people externally. What is the importance to that to your company?
Yeah, I think that it creates more diversity, and I think that diversity is one of the elements that you need to build a successful team. And if you have only people that you already know, then there is a bigger chance that you are a bit similar, and then it's you create less diversity. I think that diversity is very important here. Yeah.
And from a hiring process perspective,
Yeah.
I've seen that you've been very successful at bringing on board top talent. What are you doing in that hiring process to make it more appealing? Obviously from the outside, you guys are an AI company, you're growing fast, so there are a couple of really great triggers, great investors on board, but there must be something throughout that hiring process that you guys are killing through which you're hiring such great people.
Yeah, what we always try to do is show that we care and that we want to spend time on the hiring and get to know the team. So it's not that we say, okay, you have 50 minutes to pitch. No, we make the time to really understand why you want to work with us, and also really try give the other the opportunity to ask us questions, to learn how we are performing as a company and why we are doing the things that we are doing, and really also create an environment that you already feel, okay, everyone is open and is here to learn about each other. Creating that environment already in the hiring process is really important there. Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that you quite consciously or unconsciously, you're selling the opportunity in first instance a little bit to ensure they really want to join, and then you start qualifying them harder? Or how?
Yeah, but I think it goes hand in hand. If someone asks the right questions, then you're also learning a lot of things.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a lot of listening and also giving a lot of freedom in the conversation to make other people ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other learnings from a hiring perspective that other startups can take away?
I think it's very important that you're only hiring for roles that you really need. Because you will see a lot of opportunities, and a lot of people want, if you are successful, want to work at the company, and there are a lot of open vacancies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that you know what you need, then you can also easier judge if somebody is fitting the profile that you need. So just ask people, and I think that's also something that we did a lot, is like asking to other startup founders, and also asking to, for example, the recruiters, like what do you think is important to take into account when you're hiring for this role? Because then it's easier to make your wish list complete, and also check that with the candidates that you will find.
So my background is mostly in sales leadership, and when I look at Neople, I see you guys have done a few things tremendously well. You've avoided some pitfalls that I feel a lot of startups step into. And I mentioned sales and sales leadership specifically because if I look at, you guys hired a couple of account executives first before hiring a VP of sales, and therefore creating a level of repeatability. Then the type of VP sales you started hiring for was also really spot on. So you guys are doing a lot of things right. And is that simply because you're a second-time founder, or do you have great advisors around you who help you with that? Like, what's allowing you to not step into those same mistakes that I see a lot of other startups making mistakes in?
I think the whole leadership team and also the founders have experience, so they maybe without noticing know that they are avoiding some pitfalls. But I think the most important thing for us is that when we are making a step there, and it's a big step, that we just start asking other founders that did it quite recently or do it more often, and say, okay, what's your thinking here? So just asking for a lot of advice. It's not from advisors, but just for people that you know that they know, is really helpful with every step that you're taking. Yeah.
Amazing. I can imagine that's also not easy because you're a founder, and you're a founder for a reason. That's probably, there's a piece of stubbornness there. Does that mean that in the end you also always just listen to your own gut before you make a decision and not just blindly follow what's being advised?
Yeah, so you're searching for multiple pieces of advice and then make your own decision there. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe before we wrap up, You're a second-time founder, so I think it's quite unique to have a founder who's been successful before, who's going through their second journey right now. Any specific key takeaways or piece of advice for other founders listening to this podcast that they might be able to take away and get a bit of a learning from the fact that this is your second rodeo?
That's a really good question. I think it really boils back to what we just said. I think that asking for help, because if you are an entrepreneur and you're a founder of a company, people, and especially other founders, are really willing to help. It feels that you're alone, and maybe you are alone, but it's really helpful to just ask questions. So ask for advice, ask for help, because especially other founders and other entrepreneurs are really willing to help you.
Awesome. Hans, I really want to thank you. I'm genuinely really honored that you were the first guest on this podcast. To our listeners, I hope you found today's session as insightful and aspiring as I have. Remember, every step we take comes with learnings, whether that's from successes or failures.